There is a hunger that grows by feeding. Every other appetite knows an ending. Eat and you are full. Sleep and you are rested. Drink and the thirst is gone. But this hunger breaks the rule that governs all the others. Every meal makes it larger. Every win sharpens its teeth. Before this hour is out, you will watch a king starve to death in a palace of gold, and the richest man in an empire die with treasure poured down his throat. And you will learn the one word this sin cannot survive. A word so small you will not believe it until you try to say it and find that you cannot. Of the 7, this is the respectable one. Greed, a civilization's favorite sin. We punish the lustful. We pity the glutton. We fear the wrathful. But the greedy man, we put his face on magazine covers. We name buildings after him and ask him for advice. It is the only vice we have agreed to rename as a virtue. We call it ambition. We call it drive. We call it being hungry, and we say that word as praise. And so it spreads unopposed, the one wolf that was ever invited to guard the sheep. It never travels under its own name. None of the masters do. It calls itself security. I am only protecting my family. It calls itself prudence. You can never be too careful. It calls itself freedom. When I have enough, then I will live. Watch the man who keeps moving the line. One more year. One more deal. One more round and then I stop. He has been saying then I stop for 30 years. The mask says provision, but the providing never arrives at provided. A ship that is always provisioning is a ship that never sails. A king once did a god a kindness, and the god offered him anything he wished. Anything. Wisdom. Long life. The love of his people. The king did not hesitate, let everything I touch turn to gold. And the god, knowing exactly what he was granting, granted it. You know the morning that followed. The roses hardened on their stems. The bread turned metal between his teeth. The wine clinked solid against the golden cup. Midas had been given precisely what he wanted, and what he wanted precisely was a famine with a crown on it. Mark the oldest lesson in the oldest version of the story. The punishment for greed is not losing the wish. The punishment for greed is the wish. From myth to history, for history repeats the story with real blood. Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome. He built his fortune buying houses as they burned, his private fire brigade standing idle at the blaze until the desperate owner sold at ash prices. He owned silver mines, slaves, half the city. He bankrolled Caesar himself. And it was not enough. The word enough was not in him. Past 60, craving the one thing money had not bought, a conqueror's glory, he marched an army into the Parthian desert. The legions died around him in the sand. And the legend says the Parthians sealed his corpse's lips with molten gold. Here they told the richest man in Rome, drink your fill. Understand the machinery of this sin. It lives in the counting. Slowly, quietly, the greedy man becomes a ledger that walks. He measures the dinner against the working hour it cost. He hears of a friend's good fortune and feels subtraction. Every sunset is billed against him. Every idle Sunday is a theft. He who counts everything enjoys nothing, for the counting moves in and the living moves out. Money is a magnificent servant and a merciless master, and the coup happens in silence on no particular day, the day the question changes from what is this for to how much is it. They once asked the richest man of the modern age, how much money is enough? He had more of it than any soul alive. His answer has outlived his buildings. Just a little bit more. Sit with that. The man at the summit of the mountain, pointing at a summit that is not there. Enough is not a number. It was never going to be a number. The horizon moves as you walk toward it. That is what horizons are. The man who needs 1 million is the same man at 10 million, with better furniture and the same hunger. You cannot fill a hole that is not shaped like money. And this hole never was. Now see what the sin actually costs, for greed is a thief that robs its own house. It takes your hours first. The evenings traded away. The springs spent indoors. The friends postponed so many times they stopped calling, each one exchanged for a number on a screen. You are paid in time once at birth and never again. Greed is the art of converting that one fortune into a currency you cannot eat, hold, or be held by. The greedy man dies rich in everything that can be counted and bankrupt in everything that cannot. And on the last day, lying still, he finally runs the audit and sees in one clear moment which currency was real. Now consider the age you were born into. An entire civilization engineered around the itch. Every advertisement is a sermon with a single message: you are incomplete. Credit was invented so that wanting need not even wait. The feed shows you the watch, the car, the kitchen, the life, each image a small instruction, more. Understand what you are to this machine. The economy does not need you satisfied. A satisfied man is a defective customer. So contentment itself has been made to feel like falling behind, and the treadmill is sold to you as a road. And here is the lie at the root of it all, that the number is safety. The greedy man believes that at some figure, fear will finally sign the peace. But fear does not read bank statements. Reach the number and fear simply changes clothes. Fear of losing it. Fear of the market. Fear of thieves, of taxes, of relatives. Fear of the question he cannot ask, who would love me without it? The vault does not guard his gold. The vault guards his fear and feeds it in the dark like a pet. Security was never for sale. That was the cruelest clause in the bargain, and it was written in invisible ink. So the work begins where the greedy never dare to go. A confession. Sit in the quiet, away from the ledgers, and say the true sentence: I do not know what enough is. I have never once defined it. Say it and see the race you have been running, a race with no finish line painted, judged by no one, ending nowhere. 40 years of sprinting toward a ribbon that does not exist. Greed rules only while the destination stays foggy. The moment you ask where exactly am I running, the whip loses its arm. At a billionaire's banquet, a poet leaned over to his old friend and needled him. Their host, he said, had made more money in one day than your most famous book has earned in its entire life. And the friend replied, yes, but I have something he will never have. The poet laughed. What could that possibly be? Enough. There it is, the word this sin cannot survive. So do what the greedy find impossible, define it. Write it down. The number, the life, the line, not the fantasy, the sufficiency. What does a good life actually cost? The man who knows his enough is the only rich man in the room, and he is rich the moment he knows it. Then put money back in its place, for it does have one. Money is a tool, and a fine one. It buys time. It buys doors. It buys quiet mornings and the power to say no. Up to the line of enough, it purchases freedom itself. Past that line, it purchases only weight, scorekeeping, vigilance, and better locks. The question to hold is the old one, what is this for? Wealth that serves a life is provision. A life that serves its wealth is staff. The sin was never the gold. The sin is the kneeling. And practice the oldest cure, the open hand. Give not because heaven keeps accounts, but because giving is surgery. It severs for one clean moment the grip. The fist cannot receive anything while it clutches. No one can hand a gift to a closed hand. Notice that the generous are not poorer for it. They walk lighter. They have proven to their own fear that it is not in charge, and fear, once disproven, loses its wages. Water that flows stays clean. Water that hoards itself has a name. We call it a swamp. Return now to the king in his golden famine. The story has an ending most men forget. Midas begged and the god took mercy. Go to the river, he said. Wash it off. And the king plunged his hands into living water, and the curse ran out of him like sand, and the river's banks glitter, they say to this day. True wealth is what remains when the counting stops. The meal that is only a meal. The work that is its own wage. The afternoon no one is billing. The cure for the golden touch has not changed in 3,000 years. Wash your hands in something living. You were not born to be a vault. You were born to be a river. But while greed counts coins in the cellar, another master waits upstairs, in the warm light where the music is. He has no interest in your gold. He wants your skin, your eyes, your sleep. He carries the oldest bait in the world, and it has never once failed to sell. Lust, the fire that promises warmth and leaves ash. That story is next. It begins on a rooftop at dusk, with a king who had everything looking at the one thing he did not.